Okay, right, ready?
Yeah.
Action.
Oh.
Imagine.
I better be extra careful.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. As you can see, I have the third feature of being on YouTube. This is the third time now.
My third time on YouTube. Does that mean I'm a big deal here?
You are a big deal. So, Dan Welburn is back on the channel. Hi.
Hello.
I was going to say introduce yourself, but you don't really need to introduce yourself.
No.
We are post show now, 13 weeks into the off season. We did the show, smashed it.
Yeah, won.
Carefully.
Good arm, good arm.
Absolutely smashed the show, and yeah, obviously I shared my whole prep up into my qualifier on YouTube and documented my first time competing. So I know I have a lot of followers, a lot of YouTube subscribers that are thinking about competing or about to start their first prep, because the season's starting now.
Yeah, everyone's kicking off now. It's end of January now, isn't it? So the first show is what, March? Well, it's 8 weeks away this weekend, I think. For PCA anyways, I think it's 8 weeks away, so I've got a couple of first timers in there.
So the 2022 season is upon us.
Begins. It looks like the restrictions are getting lifted as well.
So everything will be good.
Yeah, we can maybe all sit next to each other, that'd be good.
Isn't it crazy how my first show, I forget that my first show no one watched.
Yeah, there was
no one actually there, was there, in the actual
good job,
place?
I think you'd have buckled on the pressure.
No. Obviously the live stream there was lots of people.
Yeah. No, it was. I actually enjoyed there being nobody there, it was good.
Yeah, and then it was really weird being on stage.
Yeah, that must have been weird. I
remember walking out on stage and thinking, why is there loads of people clapping? I don't know, because I've never experienced that. It was really odd.
Yeah. Oh, on my second one, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, because there was people. Yeah, of course. Yeah. That'd been. Yeah, that's surreal actually. It'd been weird competing in front of not many people.
But I'd never not.
Yeah, it's normal to you.
Yeah, it's really weird. Anyway, I digress. So this video is going to be not our usual Q&A. We're going to be basically chatting through first time competing and kind of like all aspects of what to expect on a prep.
Yeah.
So I've written down some notes, and we can talk about this from like a client's perspective and a coach's perspective, and maybe what to expect and what not to expect. So my first note was understanding what the process entails. I think sometimes people don't realise what they're getting themselves into.
Yeah, sometimes.
It's not actually just a casual diet.
No.
So I guess what I was going to say is I'd recommend trying a diet out beforehand, right?
Yeah, it's probably a good idea to have tried some kind of diet in your life before just jumping into a bodybuilding diet. So obviously it's quite extreme. Well, it's very extreme where you're going to go to, so you need to be able to have checked if you can actually do a diet and stick to a plan.
So see whether you can actually do the hard work that's needed. Yeah,
cope with feeling hungry on a day-to-day basis, cope with doing the cardio, cope with being able to schedule it into your life, because obviously you need to schedule anything. You can't just miss things when things arise in your life. It needs to get boxes ticked no matter what you're doing. So yeah, you need to have really had a good look at that before you start.
And being aware of the price of competing, I think, is another one.
Yeah, I suppose, I mean, as savage as it is, it does cost to be able to compete, doesn't it? You need to be able to afford to be able to do what you're doing, because at the end of the day, it's a hobby and it's a luxury, in the same way that fishing costs a lot of money for the equipment and everything else that entails buying things to be able to participate. Bodybuilding's the same, really. I mean,
I feel like you can definitely do a show on a budget as such, but at the same time, like, there are just non-negotiables that you're going to need. So obviously for women, like, you're going to need a bikini, you're going to need a pair of shoes, and then there's entry and like traveling to shows. It all adds up.
Yeah, so it stacks up. I think if to give any advice on that, don't let it all mount up towards the end, because really when you think about it, a lot of it's towards the end.
Yes.
Yeah.
So only before, the only real thing you need to think about before is like bikini and heels.
Yeah. So if you kind of try and budget it maybe over the year and trying to put some money away for that, so when it comes, it doesn't seem like so much. So when you've got your hotel bills, your tanning, your makeup, your entry fees, your travelling, all these things that kind of happen within like a month. If you kind of budget that across the year, it's probably not that bad. Just make sure you're putting a little bit away. Because the rest of the diet, really, you've got a gym membership, which you've got anyway, yeah?
You would hope you already have that.
You've
already been working with a coach before.
Yeah, you've probably already been working with a coach before, so you're already paying for that. So the rest of the things is maybe stuff you can maybe save up for in advance, or just put a little bit of money everywhere every month, like people do for Christmas and things like that when they've got Christmas presents.
Another nice thing to say, like if you have your birthday coming up or Christmas, just say,
sling a bit of money in the pot.
Can you put some money towards my competing?
Yeah, which might sound a bit over the top, but really, if you're trying to be sensible with what you're doing, that kind of makes sense as it would with anything you were saving up for.
But you want to do it well. So if you don't have the money for it, savagely, probably best to wait out.
Yeah. And then on the shoe on the other foot, you don't have to spend as much as probably what you're seeing people spend on the internet as well. You don't need a 400 quid bikini.
No.
You don't need
a £200 pair of shoes.
No, you can't.
Or a different bikini for every show. You don't need to do that.
No.
I think some people think they have to have a new bikini for every show, but you don't.
No. Judges do not give a shit about your bikini, really. As long as it looks nice and presentable, that's all you need. They're never going to think, oh, well, yeah, she could have been a bit better, but fucking didn't have enough sparkles.
That one has more gems on it.
Didn't have enough sparkles, and they don't give a shit. As long as you look nice and presentable, hair's done nice, you don't need all fake nails stuck on and all these things. You can paint your nails, because nobody's looking at you. Nobody's looking at your fingers. Nobody gives a shit. As long as your hair looks nice and you're kind of nice and tidy and presentable, that's all you really need, to be fair. So don't get too caught up in all that shit.
Budget, but don't get too poor.
You can get a bikini for 100, 150 quid.
You can rent bikinis.
You can rent bikinis for
if you're
whatever.
On the fence about competing.
Yeah, I've got clients that just rent bikinis because, like, why do they need to buy them, really, which is fair enough. I wouldn't skimp on things like tan and probably the actual makeup that the people at the show do week in, week out, and do it properly.
Because they know how to do it.
Because they know how to do it, they know how to make it perfect to match your tan and your hair and all this other stuff. I wouldn't skimp on that. But other stuff, you don't have to go over the top, do you know what I mean? Knowing
which category and federation to enter. So knowing which category in terms of like being realistic with what category, because they always say, don't they, you don't choose the category chooses you.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And that is true, isn't it?
Yeah, you don't choose the category chooses you. Obviously, to a degree, if you wanted to move in a certain direction, then you're going to need to kind of train that way. But really, when you look at it, everyone pretty much trains the same, apart from wellness girls. Everybody pretty much trains the same. And then whatever shape your body becomes as you grow.
That's just the way you go.
Jump into a few poses. Do you look like a tit? Yes or no? No.
That is so true though.
Yeah, that's what you really do.
Yeah.
Do I look like a tit? No. Right, well, you're alright in that one then. Yes. Okay, well, don't do that one then. Try these poses. Do I look like a tit? Yes or no? Yes. Do the category? No. Well, maybe competing's not for you if you don't suit any category, you know.
And would you say that actually some people fit the federations better than other ones? Because different federations do sometimes have a different look. That's whether it's bikini or figure.
Yeah, possibly, yeah. So some are maybe a little bit more developed than others in the same category. So you would probably say X federation, not fit X federation, Y federation would be a certain development of bikini. Z federation might look a little bit different for bikini, but
yeah, because some federations like quite a soft bikini, and some federations like quite a big kind of hard bikini.
Yeah, some are a bit more thinner or shredded or softer or whatever. Shredded is a word.
That's a real word.
It is in my vocabulary.
Shredded.
But yeah, you've got to kind of pick and choose where you go from there. I mean, you can alter and change your look between federation as well. You're not just stuck in one federation forever. You can adjust the way you look and how you come in to suit. But that's what your coach is for, really, to
say like, oh, maybe go in this direction.
Yeah, to have the experience and the foresight to be able to pick.
I guess you've probably had times where someone's come to you and said, I really want to be in that category, but you kind of had to turn around and say like, look, that category is not for you, you need to try a different category.
Yeah, definitely. And then obviously back to what we usually talk about with some hybrid clients that
can do anything.
Can literally do 2, even 3 categories and just change the posing and they're alright.
Imagine me trying to do bikini.
No, that won't work.
You know, when you get into the pose, you're like, you look like a tit.
Yeah. Please stop.
Another thing that I mentioned on my notes was knowing that you're like being in a good place to start a prep. So I think sometimes people think, oh, I want to compete, and then they think, I'm going to prep next week.
Yeah.
But actually,
I get this as well when people make inquiries. And
yeah, like long-term longevity, you want to make sure you're in a very good spot, not just physically, but mentally to start prep.
Yeah, and it's probably quite a detailed subject, really, that you could spend some real time going into. But realistically, your body composition needs to be in the right place to start prep. You don't want to start too far out, so you've got too much work to do, because the amount of work is going to the way you go in is going to dictate the way you come out. So you want that in the best kind of place possible to be able to do that. The amount of food you're currently eating, the amount of time you've been doing that for. So obviously they all need to be kind of in an optimal range, because the worst starting point, the worst prep you're going to have, the worst experience you're going to have, and then the worst time coming out of it you're going to have, you're really going to have a bad time for a long period. That can last, and we said that on your podcast the other day, up to 6 to 7 months post-show before you can even start looking at getting things right again. So
and if you've had a long prep, because you started in a bad place, you've had to have a 20-30 week prep, and then you've also got 10 weeks post-show of just shit as well.
Yeah.
So that's like 40-50 weeks of your life.
Yeah, well, if you're looking at like 6 months of shit on the back of a prep, then you've had a 5 months prep, that's like 11 months.
Yeah.
That's a
or
year.
What you need to do is be honest with yourself and say, I'm not in an optimal place to start a prep right now, so I'm going to go away, build my food back up, take maybe a mini cut, and then go again.
Yeah, it depending where you are, it can take multiple pushes and pulls to get you into the right spot. So
and we've said this before, haven't we? Like, the more you push and pull, the better you're actually going to look for show.
Yeah, and that can take some time, and that might be frustrating for some people, that they have to spend that time and think, well, fuck it, I can diet in 12 weeks on 700 calories and all the cardio.
You think that at the time?
Yeah, but then you've got to, and this is where the coaches come into play, of the foresight and experience to be able to see beyond where you need to be. Because when I'm looking at a client, when they're coming to me, I'm looking at not just where they are, where they need to be, but I'm looking at the back end of that, where they're coming out, to try and get them out safely as well, and get the relationship with food and life back to normal at a decent rate.
Because when you're a first-time competitor, you are just so keen to start. Like, you make this decision and you're like, I'm going to prep, I'm going to do it. So it could be probably potentially quite difficult to hear from somebody to say, like, look, you're not in an optimal position to prep, you need to wait.
Yeah. Just about every first-time competitor knacks that up. And they're just about every single one, there's like, yeah, I'll be fine post-show, and I'm trying to drill it in, and then, boom, and then 4 weeks later, they're like,
I told you so.
And I'm like, I tried to tell you, and you're just so convinced, you just need to take that advice from somebody who knows. Trust me, you need to take that advice from somebody who knows.
I think that's something that I would have done differently. Like, I probably, although it was great because my first show didn't go so well, but like long term, looking at that, maybe I should have waited. Yeah. What, and sort of compete at the end of the year? Yeah, we would have had a smoother ride, but I mean, you handled it well. It was actually fine. You handled it well, considering what it was, because competing for a full year is a stretch. It's a stretch, and I know you was done and dead by the end of it, but... Well, guys, obviously I stopped posting on my YouTube, what, eight weeks out from the British finals. That just tells you how much of a push it was in the end, because I didn't want to do anything like that. So one thing I would like to try and drill into everybody, and whether you've competed before or not, that your prep is not just from the start of the prep to the show. Your prep is from the start of the prep to probably 4 weeks post-show, realistically, 4 weeks. Yeah, but 4, 6 if you've done a long show. Yeah. But 4, you're kind of back at a level with your food. Yeah. And 6 weeks is a long time to stick 100% to a planned post-show as well. So trying to get that at an optimal rate. I usually say to people, just stick with it for 3 weeks post-show, and then we usually got you back to a point where you can afford to mess up without it being too damaging. Because what people don't realise is when you push down so hard for so long for a show, just a few days off plan, because your body wants it, just soaks everything up. It needs it. Everything you put on immediately post show is not coming back off. It's not coming back off. So you need to get that into your head, and it might not come back off for another 6 months post show until your body's ready to start again. Which is why I said it might take 6 months. It might ruin you for 6 months, because you might think, right, 3 months later, God, I've got fat. I might try dieting again. Your body's not going to do it. It just 9 times out of 10, it just won't. It just won't lose any body fat because that last little bit's so hard to get off that as soon as you put it back on again, it didn't want to go there. You forced it there. Yeah. Think about how much you had to force it to get there. Yeah. it's not going to want to do that.
Your body's going to be like, no, 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 no,
not going back there.
No, you're not letting us go back there. So it needs to forget.
Savage.
But yeah, it's very important that, and I know first timers will still, I'll still mess it up. But if I can just try and get the message out there that we need to make these preps as seen as longer than they are, then that should help with, because everyone's focused on the show, and then I can go pizza up, then I can do this, then I can do that, then I can go to my nan's for some biscuits and blah blah blah. And you just get that taste for a couple of days, man, and then that's it. It's done.
It's done.
So meal off on the night, maybe a meal off in the following morning, some breakfast. As hard as it is, get back on a plan that your coach should pretty much have for you straight away, or if not, be pre-planned before the show. Get back on that.
Yeah.
Suffer. Yeah. Suck it up, because it's going to be hard as fuck.
Mentally, it's so tough.
It'll be harder than the prep was. It will be harder than the prep was.
I had friends and family like 2 weeks post-show saying to me, "Gee, why are you eating that still?"
I know.
It's really hard because, and then mentally, like in the back of your head, you're thinking, "Why am I still eating this?
I don't need to eat this."
It's really difficult. It's like
there's no consequence.
It's like you have Dan Welburn on one shoulder saying, "Don't fuck it up. Stick to the plan for a few weeks," and then you have like, "Oh, do you know what? I can eat whatever I want now."
It doesn't matter. There's no consequence.
Doesn't matter. There's no prep.
But the consequence is bad. So
yeah.
I mean, these outliers to this. So I know everyone might be saying, "Oh, well, my mate did blah 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 blah," but trust me, I've worked with hundreds of women over the years.
Oh, the girls, we can't get away with
there's
it.
Not many outliers to it.
But it is worth sticking through. Like, I'm glad that I stuck with it as much as I did initially. Because like just I think the mental side of things, like I said this in my last episode on YouTube, I don't feel like now, 14 weeks post show, I don't feel uncomfortable and like I need to diet. I don't feel like
You're in
that.
a good spot,
because I feel like I managed to keep the food reasonable. Not saying it's perfect, but reasonable.
That's the point to bring up, to be fair.
Not perfect.
You're trying to be perfect. There will be little slip ups.
Because you're so perfect in the prep, as soon as you fuck the post show, which everyone does, you think, "Oh my god."
Don't let the full wall come down just because you've took a brick. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean by that, yeah?
Yeah.
Don't let it all go shit just because you made up. Just get back on with what you was doing. It's not going to be big in the grand scheme of things, but if you let the full thing go just because you've slipped once.
What I used to think was, in my prep, I used to do refeeds, and they used to be like so much food, but it wouldn't do anything.
Yeah.
And you've got to think about the same in post-show. Okay, it's post-show, you fucked it. Like, I'd have days where I'd probably eat about 5,000 calories, but then I'd think, okay, the next day is like, just treat that as if it was a massive refeed. Like, as long you know from your prep that when you got back on your normal food the next day, nothing changed.
You never did 5,000 calories. That was a stretch, surely.
Well, I don't know.
She used to message me saying, "I've eaten 5 extra rice cakes."
No, that was on prep. On prep. I'm saying.
Oh, on the refeeds.
I'm saying post. So in post show, if you have a day where you fuck it, which I did, I'd be like, "Oh, by the way, Dan, I just didn't care. I went shopping, just bought like a pack of biscuits, didn't care."
Yeah, that was after the last show, wasn't it?
Yeah. So like, what I'm saying is post show. If you think of that as like kind of in a way of a refeed,
I
think about in a prep, like you'd have a refeed, you'd go back to normal, nothing would change.
Just don't fuck it over one day.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, rather than saying, "Oh, I fucked post show now, I'm just going to blow it all out the water."
Yeah. Just keep getting back on the horse. Just keep showing up.
Even if you have to cry into your tuna, just do it.
Just keep showing up.
You kind of wanted to post show then, but yeah, I think obviously making sure that you've got a good environment mentally and like around you, people around you, and your work situation is good. Because as you said earlier, you know that it's a lot of hard work and a lot of boxes to tick. So if you are busy at work, or you're trying to work towards a promotion, or you have a busy family life, just think like, is it actually the right time to do this?
Yeah, I forgot we were still on this question.
Yeah, sorry, we have kind of gone.
That was my fault.
It's fine. We were going to cover post show anyway. I feel like we've done that. But yeah, have you had people that have maybe started a prep first time, and then they've got through some of the prep and thought, "Oh my god, I have so much going on in my personal life right now that I just can't commit to this prep." Yeah.
We need more education out there about it, but I think there's been a lot done in the last year towards that, I think, especially from yourself and some others.
Yeah.
And it seems to be helping.
So, optimal place to start prep. The stage will always be there.
Stage will always be there. As cliche as that is, it's true.
It is true. So just making sure, because you will have a better prep and you will have a better post show if you're going into it at the right time. Even though it's so hard, honestly, it's so hard as a first timer to think, "Oh, I'm going to have to push my show back." But
Works out better, as you found out. Works out better.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I always think if I had actually gone through with my first prep which got cancelled, like, yeah, the difference would have been absolutely mental. So the other thing is posing practice.
Yes.
Important, right?
Mega important.
I would say arguably as important as the diet and the training.
All intertwined as one, 100%.
For sure. So make sure that, again, when we were talking about budgeting earlier, that you have put money aside to learn how to pose.
Yeah.
Some people this will just come naturally too. Like, some people just have a natural flow. Some people it will take a lot of time and a lot of practice to do your posing.
Yeah, don't neglect it, man.
Yeah, don't neglect it. So find a good posing coach, find what poses work for you. I don't feel like there's a one size fits all in terms of what looks good on people.
Agree.
So it's not a case of seeing that girl on Instagram and just copying her poses. You want to make sure that you're working with someone and even getting a second opinion from your coach in terms of what looks good on you and what doesn't.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Because in my prep, I remember towards the end, like, I would practice like once, twice a day.
Yeah.
So important.
Oh yeah, he was well on it.
And also being like getting used to staying in poses for a period of time as well.
Stage fit.
Yeah, that is literally a
thing.
Stage
fitness, yeah.
Because when I first started posing, I found I was out of breath. I was finding it really hard to stay in those poses for a long time. And I remember the fear, because people used to say to me like, oh, you need to practice staying in the pose, because honestly when you get on stage and you have to sit in those poses for a long time, it will be really hard.
Yeah.
But I think because where I'd actually trained myself to stay in those poses for a long time, it was fine.
Yeah.
It was like the least of my worries.
It's literally a thing, stage fitness. So no one wants to see a physique that stood there gasping and blowing. It doesn't happen so much in the women because they're not tensing as hard as the men, but you still need to be able to hold them shots and it look effortless, because it's tough. Yeah, posing's tough.
Oh, it's the hardest part.
Yeah,
For
the
me
girls,
personally, it's the hardest
aches
part.
the back and this and that, and like, but yeah, you need to look like you're not even trying. But it's a big thing that I have with my clients, and I push it really hard, and we said this on your podcast the other day, but it's something that's within your control. Like, it's 100% within your control. So turning up in condition is within your control. Turning up being able to pose is within your control. Who else turns up, how big they are, how muscular they are, the shape of them. You can't control any of that stuff. Your own genetic shape, you can't control that. Turning up in shape and being able to pose is top of the list.
Because it is true, like, I'm not saying, like, the judges aren't going to say, oh, that girl's better at posing, but what they're going to see is that girl looks really good in that pose and that girl doesn't look so good in that pose.
It's not even something that, sorry.
And that's the difference.
Yeah, it's not even something that's massively going to come into the judge's mind as such. It's just that person look, because judging's a lot simpler than people think. It's just that person looks better than that person. End of. That's
so if
it.
you put yourself in a pose that makes you look better,
you're going to look better.
You're going to win.
And you're going to do better. I've seen so many girls come out in 4th, 5th, 6th place that should have won shows, hands down, because of the physique they've got, but they just made themselves look crap on stage. And if, as a coach and that, I'm sat there thinking, you should have walked that show, love. Do you know what I mean? There's no way you should be coming out of that place in, but they just never put the time into doing that because they didn't see it as important. And you see this a lot more with, like,
it's definitely becoming more popular now,
yeah,
isn't it? Like, people talking about posing, and there's lots more posing coaches around and stuff like that.
Yeah, so personally I work with like one posing coach in particular, but a couple more as well. Michaela McDonald, I'll drop her in.
Yeah, definitely worth a mention.
But I've got a good relationship.
That's who I basically posed my whole time with.
Yeah, pretty much. And I speak to her on a regular basis and speak about the clients and what I like to see in them, because we don't always agree, but we come to a middle ground of where the client looks best, and that's important to have that relationship with a posing coach as well, for me as a coach, which I'm blessed with, to be fair, because Michaela's brilliant, and she knows what I like as well, actually, with my clients.
Yeah,
so
I bet you guys kind of know.
Yeah, we speak often on the phone and stuff like that, do you know what I mean, about my clients. So
if you if you are working with a coach, worth obviously speaking to them about that, like, who they would say to go to for posing and the kind of poses that they want you in. Like, I think sometimes a client might think, oh, I don't need to speak to my coach about posing, but actually it's really important. So as a client, don't ever feel like you can't say to your coach, oh, what do you think about this pose, or what do you think about that pose? Because I remember sending you a few photos and saying, like, which one do you prefer? Like, do you prefer my side pose like this or like this? And you would say, oh, it looks better for you on that side of things. So it's just as important as diet.
Yeah, the coaches should be kind of picking up on that stuff as well, but from a coach's perspective, to have a client that is sending you multiple choices of poses that they're trying out themselves, that's mint. Do you know what I mean? That's what you should be doing for your coach. You shouldn't just be going along with emotions, and just don't take the posing for what's the word? Like, don't be blasé about the posing aspect of it.
Not prioritise it.
Yeah, that's it. Don't not prioritise it.
I remember so when you're quite close to obviously you should be practicing your posing throughout off season really, and obviously even more so in a prep. But the last 2 months, I had like a massive routine where I would go to the gym in the morning, I would do half an hour of posing, and then I would do my cardio. So just make it fit your routine. Like, find somewhere in your day, it doesn't have to be morning.
It should be in there, yeah.
Find somewhere to put it, and like make it as much as the priority is brushing your teeth in the morning. That's quite literally how I had it at the end.
We can all find 20 minutes.
It's all you need. You don't even need to put on your heels. You can do it in your trainers or in your socks in your kitchen.
Get up 20 minutes earlier and practice. It'll be worth it.
So worth it. Although I still need to work on my posing, but you know, we'll get there.
Well, it never stops though, does it?
It never stops now.
No, it never stops.
No, it never stops. Like, you can always be better at posing. For sure, absolutely sure. So get a posing coach, practice your posing all the time. We kind of already touched on this, but the bikini, the heels, the shoes, the importance of it, you said not particularly important, maybe not as important as people think.
Just look presentable and nice. You don't need to be OTT with it.
I would say in terms of like bikinis and finding a bikini company that you like, definitely don't rush into things. I think I initially rushed into things on my first ever bikini that I had. Spend time looking at people on Instagram. Colours, important, not important, would you say?
So again, it just needs to look. It needs to look right.
Nice.
It used to be a case of like, because the tans that they used to use, especially in NABA and stuff, was like that dream tan, which is like a certain colour, and there's colours that don't go with it. But to be fair, with the new tans, pretty much every colour's kind of alright now, really. So just whatever you prefer, and as long as...
I would say go for a colour that you like and that you like. So girls, go for a colour that you feel confident in. So I always say, if you were to wear a coloured dress on a night out, what colour would that dress be? And then whatever colour that dress would be, because you feel confident in that, I would go with that personally. Like, I think that's really important.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think, like, one colour I would not feel confident in, it would be like a green. So I would just never go for that, because I think I just wouldn't feel confident in it.
Yeah.
And by the way, you've got to feel confident, else it's not going to work.
Stop posting black and white photos.
Stop posting black and white photos.
Nobody gives a shit. Nobody gives a shit. Just you.
I feel like people have actually kind of stopped
we're coming away from it. We just need to break that cycle.
Stop it. I don't know what colour I'll go with my bikini next, but I'll obviously tell you guys.
Because it's important.
Because it is important. It's really important. Heels, I would say, just make sure that you have one that fits you and that is comfortable. So you probably don't care about this, but basically when I bought my first ever posing shoes, they were so uncomfortable, and I'd feel like my feet would give up before my posing would give up, which was really odd. Turns out I'm wearing shoes that are like made for narrow feet, and I have wide feet. Like, I buy the wide foot options of shoes normally. So make sure your shoe is the right shoe for you. Like, don't just go for the one that looks pretty on the website, go for the one that's right for you. I used Compact.
I think they give quite a lot of advice on their
Compact is amazing. Jazz is the name of the owner. We're not sponsored by them or anything, but they were really helpful for me in terms of saying, oh, you should try this fit because this fit will be better for your feet. So as soon as I changed from the flares into the cocktail shoes, I found...
Is that what they're called?
Yeah, cocktail.
Is that what they're called?
Yeah.
Oh dear.
So as soon as I changed from it was called the flare, which I think is like one of the most popular, into the cocktail fit, I found that I could walk so much easier. You're laughing, but it's true. Do you know what also cracked me up? I did a party for my clients, and it was obviously dressed up, and I thought, oh, like, the heels that I bought for show were really expensive. Yeah. So I was like, oh my god, those shoes were so comfortable, I'm going to wear them on the night out. They was only comfy because I was wearing them for 10 minutes on stage.
Fair one, yeah.
Wow, my
really
feet about 2 hours in were just absolutely battered. But yeah, choose a shoe that fits you, choose a bikini colour that you're confident in, and jewellery. Don't go OTT maybe.
People just go to them cheap jewellery shops, don't they? It's Claire's or whatever.
Claire's. There you go.
Girls in Hull go to Claire's. Is that not a national thing, no? Or is it not? That might be just a local thing. Come to Hull, go to Claire's, pay the tourism bill.
I've never heard, like, I would go to Claire's if, like, mine broke, maybe.
So Claire's is a thing then, yeah?
It must be, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Go to Claire's if you want to go to Claire's.
There's me.
Again, nobody gives a shit about your jewellery.
No one cares about your jewellery, as long as it's not crazy in your face.
Yeah, well that's it, yeah, don't go OTT with that stuff. It's just, you don't even need it. You don't even really need it, to be honest, jewellery.
No.
I've never sat and watched a show and thought, that's a nice bracelet, goes with the top real nice.
Goes with the top.
Goes with the top part of the bikini real nice. Oh, she's got her lips the same colour as well.
Probably not worth as much brain power as people are using on prep.
No.
I remember I took about 4 days to decide what earrings to wear.
Yeah. and then your hair come over it anyway.
Yeah, it doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
Okay, next one that I noted down was checking in and communication with your coach. So being honest with your coach, checking in with your coach and giving them the information that they need, I think is so important. But it's a fine balance between not giving enough information like that. Like as a client, don't just say like, oh yeah, that went well, or you know, I just really like quick answers, but at the same time appreciate that when you're in a prep, everything has been heightened in terms of emotions and feelings. But you don't, I'm not saying you don't need to tell your coach about it, but just be aware of the fact that in a prep, your emotions are heightened, so you don't want to
Too much information is just
just
as bad as not enough information.
like to the point where you're just telling your coach stuff that doesn't even
just
matter.
Not relevant, and it's over. Because then you find yourself trying to sieve what you need out of just word blabble like you don't really need. So to be fair, pretty much all my clients you get onto a level with your clients after a little bit. So sometimes I'll just give them a nudge for maybe a little bit more. Sometimes I have to give them a little bit of a nudge for possibly a little bit less if there's too much on there. But if you've got a solid relationship with who you're working with, then that shouldn't be a problem anyway. You sort of find yourself in a nice groove. Yeah. And just don't lie, man. Just tell the truth, because I mean this is obvious and it shouldn't even need saying, but if you're lying and you're eating stuff you shouldn't be eating, even though you're embarrassed, and then the coach is looking at you checking thinking, well, this don't make no sense. So if we're not changing, we're going to have to change something to try and get that moving. And then you was doing stuff wrong anyway. You've just had your plan altered when you didn't even need to. And then your brain thinks, well, I don't need to do that because I wasn't doing that anyway. Yeah. So I'll just do what I was meant to be doing.
And then you're not even following the plan that you're paying for.
You just end up in a world of shit. Don't be listening to outside influences, because don't forget there's 1,000 ways to skin a cat as well. So just because you're choosing one route, it don't mean to say the multiple other things that would possibly work. So if you're having outside influence saying, well, I won't do it like that, I'd do it like this, that's going to mess your head up. So just don't listen to anybody apart from the person who you're paying to listen to. And if you want to go listen to somebody else, then go do that, but don't do it with the same coach, because it just makes no sense, you know.
I think the truth thing is such a big thing. Like I think a lot of, as a first timer, especially at the moment, I feel like there's a lot of pressure. Like people put a lot of pressure on themselves, and there seems to be this like thing that a first timer is going to do really well and like win shows and things.
I wonder where they've got that from. I wonder where that's come from.
No, but as a first timer, like I think people put too much pressure on themselves to be perfect.
Yeah.
And then when you slip up,
I see what you're saying. Yeah,
mess up your plan, you don't want to tell your coach because you're embarrassed about the fact that you didn't do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
But actually, like in the nicest way, it's not like you don't care, but you would rather know that they
then at least you know,
up.
then you can help the person.
Yeah, and then you can kind of, it doesn't actually matter in the grand scheme of things if you slip up ever so slightly. You just need to be honest with your coach about it.
Yeah.
And like at the end of the day, they're there to do a job, and they're not there to judge you. Like you would never think, oh, that person is X, Y, and Z because they did that. You just need the true information on what's happening, because we're working together.
Yeah. It's a
if
joint
I lie
venture.
to you, you can't do your job.
Yeah, so you're basically paying someone to then stop them doing the job.
Yeah.
Which makes no sense. It's like paying a bricklayer to put your wall up, and then you keep stealing his cement, and you wonder why your wall keeps falling down.
Because you're nicking the cement.
Because you're nicking the cement.
That's a very good way of putting it, actually.
Yeah.
So yeah, as a client, I would say make sure you check in on time, make sure you're clear with your communication, not too little, not too much, and don't lie.
Do not lie.
Do not lie.
Rule number 1.
Would you say for you as a coach that's the main thing?
Because we know as well. We know.
You're not stupid.
And you don't always, you're not always just going to like front. I just haven't got the energy to be fronting people up. Like, I know you're lying. You just know something, and then you just end up getting rid of the client because it's pointless. So just don't get yourself in that situation to start with. You know, you shouldn't. People shouldn't be having to call you out on your bullshit when you're both trying to do the same thing. It's just stupid. If you are struggling,
if you're a first timer and you're struggling on your prep, and you feel like, you know, you're going over or you're not doing it, or it's too much cardio, and, you know, maybe just speak to your coach, because it might be a case that they, so say if I was really struggling, I was cheating on my diet, reach out to you, you would just say like, it's fine, we'll just stop the prep here and do it again at another time.
Yeah.
Or it might just not be the right time for you to prep.
Yeah, or there might be a different way that you can kind of do things that is going to be able to get you to stick to it a little bit better, possibly.
Don't be afraid of failure in your first prep, because not everybody makes it through a first prep. I think actually, especially with social media and people swinging their dicks around saying I'm doing shit, that was me. I'm saying that I was.
No, I'm not saying that. I just think it's funny when you say that.
Yeah, but do you know what I mean? Like people being like,
yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Lots of people promoting a first timer show and stuff like that. There is a lot of people that drop out.
Yeah, and a lot of the people, as we know, but you shouldn't even really need to tell them, they're full of shit. The stuff that they post on Instagram, they're just full of shit. And I see it, and I know the conversations behind closed doors, and they're just lying. So not everyone is as strong-willed and as like smashing it and what team no days off or whatever the fuck. Not everyone's doing it as much as you think they are, so don't allow that to put so much pressure on you that you think you're doing stuff wrong. No, very small percentage of the people that are actually swinging their dicks about, Georgie likes to say, is telling the truth. There's a lot of them that are full of shit, so don't let that impact the way you feel about yourself, you know.
Managing hunger and fatigue on a prep. So I think this is a big thing to talk about, the fact that when you're in the end of a prep, you basically just have this period of time that is really hard.
It's just fucking bad.
It's really hard.
Yeah, it's bad.
And I'm not gonna lie, like the last couple of weeks, like you just kind of have to brace yourself and just deal with it. Like there is no way to combat hunger, there is no way to subside the hunger, there is literally no way to get rid of the fatigue. Obviously you can do what you can in terms of eating smartly, you know, drinking enough water, trying to get some sleep, but there is just this period before the show where
it's just not fun.
You just can't. Just
put your seatbelt on and take it. Just take it, and it'll be over before you know it.
And don't be scared of this period, because when you're in it, you actually, as long as you don't like resent against it, I feel like you can just get your head into it and you just go with it.
Just win the day.
Yeah.
Just try and win that day.
Just take each day as it comes.
Yeah, and then wake up and then start again.
Because when you come out of the prep, you realise just how like fatigued you were, and the fact that you were walking around like a dead person, but while you're in that phase you don't actually really notice it as much.
Yeah, because you've kind of coasted, you've like kind of crept into it without realising it until you come right up above water when you come out of the prep. Like you think, fuck, that was actually...
And I feel like that gets to a point with the hunger, like when you're going through the prep, like as a first timer, I would say just expect this. You notice your hunger more. So I remember like when I first started prepping, like what, 18, 20 weeks out, I was like, oh, I'm getting really hungry. Like actually that, you're laughing thinking, you wait bitch. But that's because you're so like aware of your hunger.
Yeah.
And your hunger switches on and off, but you get to this point in prep where you hit a groove and you are always hungry.
Hungry is the norm, so you
get used to that feeling of just always being hungry. And always being fatigued, always being tired, always not being able to sleep. There just comes a point, and your training will go to shit as well.
Yeah, you just got to try.
But that becomes the norm as well.
You just got to try and hang on to what you've got there. Reduce your coach will do it probably anyway, but if you are struggling with that, reduce your volume slightly and just hold back a little bit and don't take everything beyond failure. And just trying to cut. But that'll all be negotiated by feedback and what your coach thinks you should do at the time, really.
So end of a prep, this is what you should expect. You get up in the morning, you get out, you do your steps, you just get shit done, and then you snuggle up in bed for about 2 hours and think, oh my god, I need to motivate myself to go to the gym. And then you get up and go to the gym because you just have to, and you literally walk around and the people in the gym look at you like, what the fuck? and you walk around, it takes you about 20 minutes to do one set on shoulder press because you're so fatigued, and then you do your cardio and you just get it done, and then you just go home, you don't speak to anyone, you just make your meals. Honestly, that is, for me, the reality of the last couple of weeks.
Minimal contact.
Minimal contact, just getting shit done because you've got to get it done. So just expect that in the last couple of weeks, I would say.
And if you don't get that, good for you, man.
You're probably not shredded enough.
No, there's a few outliers.
There's
a few outliers. I've got a few of them that just thrive in that environment, and they love being there.
In the same way that there are some people that just will not be able to do a prep because they just can't.
Yeah.
So there'll be some people that fly through a prep and they're like, that was easy.
Not everybody's the same. Yeah.
But some people will find the whole process quite difficult. So, self-doubt and worrying about not being ready on time, doubting yourself that you won't be good enough. What would you say about that?
That it's normal. You're never going to stop people doing that. But I mean, we delved into it a minute ago with what we was talking about on Instagram and people, the way they act and all that. It's never the same behind closed doors. They've all got the same amount of worries as you have. At the end of the day, in the same way as if you was getting ready for a test, you would be worried that you're not going to know all the answers. It's only the same thing. You're getting ready for a show, you're worrying that you're not going to turn up looking good enough, but also on top of that, you stood next to people that you've got to try and beat, so you've got that added worry that you've got to try and be better than them. You're never going to completely get rid of that. You just have to try and switch off to it as much as you can, really.
I'd say manage expectations.
Yeah, manage expectations. As a first timer, don't expect to win your first show. Want to win your first show. Train as though you want to win your first show. Give it everything you've got. But don't just turn up expecting to win, because there's another 20 people that you're going to be stood against, or with the classes, who are also first timers, who also have done everything that you're doing, or also putting everything into it, and the posing and every blah 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 blah, going through all the stuff that you're going through, who are trying to come and beat you. So whether you come first or 10th, it's going to be one of them things that just come, the cards will fall the way they fall.
You just need to be doing it, like, don't be doing it to win in your first show. I think it's really important.
It's
and
good
that will
advice.
take away a lot of the worry, because if you're putting too much pressure on yourself to do well, that's going to make the prep unenjoyable.
It's going to actually hold you back.
Yeah, for sure. Like, just have no expectations going into it, and don't talk online as if you're going to win. I think if you're somebody who is posting their journey online, which, let's be real, a lot of people now are doing a prep, don't post like with expectations to do well, or like you're gonna, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Because then you're secretly putting pressure on yourself
without even realising you're doing it.
Without even realising that you are.
Just
because people watching you will be like, oh, she's obviously going to do well then.
Yeah.
Because she can do X, Y, and Z.
Just do what you're meant to do.
Just do the
every
thing.
day. Get up, do what you're meant to do, finish it, go to bed, get up, do the same. If you need to delete Instagram, which is a big one that I have with clients, and obviously clients like...
I remember you saying...
I know, yeah.
Turn your comments off.
Yeah. So obviously clients like you who live through social media for the business and whatnot, it's more difficult, but a lot of clients...
just have like normal jobs.
Just normal jobs or whatever, normal lives. Just come off Instagram, man. You don't need it. Or mute the people that are getting inside your head without realising. We're all very susceptible to being influenced. Influenced by everything we're surrounded by without even realising. Without even realising it's happening. You won't even be aware it's happening. But the stuff that you're scrolling by and looking at is influencing your mind.
And it's putting stress on you.
Yeah, you're putting stress on.
What you don't need in a prep is stress.
Which affects everything. So you need to be in control of your mind. So if that means muting people for a bit, or even deleting them, or coming off social media, which I prefer people to do if they can do. I've literally had it with clients where they've been on social media and they've been little stress balls, and this person and that person and blah blah blah, and the progress has been meh, and then they come off, and within weeks the physique just starts to transform, like it really comes in, and there's only one different thing to attribute that to, and that is the fact that they've come off social media. So it just shows how much stressing out can really affect somebody's body.
For sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Sure. I think I put a lot of pressure on myself from about 12 weeks to about 4 weeks out, and I think after it was about 4 weeks out, and actually this conversation with you I think we had,
I still don't know how you did it.
What with the pressure?
Yeah, with all them people that are following you on here and all the rest of it, I still don't know how you did that. I don't think I would have been able to do that.
So
I would class myself as fairly strong-willed, to be fair.
I can't remember what it was, but I think there was a post that I put up and lots of people were in the comments writing, "You will win."
Oh, yeah.
And I was saying to you about it, and I can't remember what you said, but you said something to me and it just made my head go. And I honestly just, I would read the comment, but I just wouldn't take it in.
Yeah.
And I just took all pressure off myself. And do you know what? I think that helped me for my last 4 weeks. Because the last sort of 2 weeks, that's when you start receiving so many lovely, like really, really lovely messages, like wishing you good luck.
Which is real nice.
It's lovely, and saying like, you're going to win, you're going to smash it, I've watched your whole prep, I know you're going to do well.
Well, it's a double-edged sword.
But if my head was where it was 2 weeks prior to that, with all of that coming in, I think I would have broken a little bit.
You nearly broke, Georgie.
You guys nearly broke. No, I love it.
No, it's nice, but it's just a double-edged sword, isn't it? That's the thing.
The only time it kind of flipped back on me on how many people, like, because the last 4 weeks I didn't even think about one person watching my prep. It was really odd.
Yeah.
I was literally just doing it for me. And I always thought, like, even if I pulled out, like, not that I was thinking about pulling out my first prep, but I just wouldn't have even cared. Like, there'd be no, like, oh, you know, people are watching it. I don't think I would have minded.
Yeah.
The only time it hit me was about 2 minutes before I was on stage, and I was like, oh fuck, there's so many people watching this on the live stream. It finally hit me, like, that there was this massive audience, well, not massive, but a big audience following me. But no, I like the pressure. Pressure is a privilege.
Pressure is a privilege, yeah, but it can also wreck things.
Yes.
So if you need to come off, get off. But again, that's just a conversation to be having with your coach.
For sure, be honest with them and just say, look, I'm feeling X, Y, and Z. It's very normal to have a lot of self-doubt in your first show because you don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
And I remember that actually in my first show, I was looking at seasoned athletes in the same category as me and thinking, I don't look anything like that. Bearing in mind what you think you look like is already like squiffed.
Yeah, well walked.
But like I'm looking at like pros that are, well, not pros, but even amateurs that have been back on stage. I'm looking at, like, for example, the PCA that I was doing. I'm like, oh, she came first in athletic, but she'd been on stage 3-4 times before.
Yeah, for a few years.
So don't compare yourself to like people that are like above you in terms of where they're at in bodybuilding either. That's the worst thing you can do. I know a lot of people in their preps will relate to this, that have done a prep and are watching this.
Yeah.
Don't print screen other girls' pictures and put them next to yours.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised.
Really.
People are always doing that.
Yeah, that's fucked up.
If you're watching this and you've done a prep, you will know that you used to screenshot other people's check-ins and put them next to yours.
Yeah.
Be like, she looks better than me in that area there. Not as a, like, you didn't actually mind that person, but there's still a physique that you would compare to.
Things are so different when they turn out on stage as well. They're so different. And even if you did that with the pictures, which I didn't even know that was a thing, to be fair, but like you go.
Comment down below if that's a thing that you've done.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I've never done that. But
probably just me now.
Yeah,
imagine that. People are like, no, I've never done that.
They just look so different on stage, and people only post they post the best angles, and it's so many times, and it doesn't do them any good. To be fair, it does them bad, because if the judges are following, if they do or not, I don't know, and they're expecting a certain thing, and you've shown all your best shots, and they walk out and they're disappointed, not that they're going to mark you down for that, but like subconsciously they're disappointed by what they're seeing, so it just doesn't help your image, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%.
Not that it make much difference, because you're still standing next to other people and you've got to compare to that, but you never want to disappoint when you walk out.
So basically, to summarise then, don't compare yourself too much.
No, at all.
Don't have any expectations. Make sure you're in the right spot to prep.
Yeah.
Don't stress about the small things as such as jewellery, but make sure you always pose.
Yeah.
Get a good coach that you can be honest with, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
First timer.
Yeah, first timer.
If you had one piece of advice for a first timer, what would it be? And I'll think of one as well.
Shit, let's edit this now. Everything we've just said, it's just all of it, isn't it? It's just a big collection of all the information we've just given, and just make sure you're in it for the right reasons.
That was going to be mine. I was going to say, make sure you're in it for the right reasons.
Yeah, so that's the advice from both of us. Make sure you're in it for the right reasons.
And you're doing it at the right. Make sure you're in it for the right reasons initially, and then make sure you're doing it at the right time.
Yeah, yeah. The right reasons being just because you enjoy it and it's something that you want to do, whether you want to take it a long way or just do the one show, just make sure you're doing it for yourself and not to try and...
Not for anyone else. Make sure you're not doing it just for the show day. Ask yourself, if I had to stop posting on social media... And,
now you beat me to that, yeah.
And yeah, if I had to stop posting on social media and there wasn't even a show day as such, would I still do it?
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say that's a good question.
You have to love the bodybuilding life.
Yeah, ask
it's
yourself
not
that
just
one
a diet.
question. If I could do this secretly and nobody knew about it, would I still do it? If the answer's still yes, you're in it for the right reasons. If you're doing it to post on your Instagram and show to other people, not so much.
It's the bodybuilding side of things. I think don't look at it as it's a prep and a show. Bodybuilding is
lifestyle. It's a full life. Yeah.
And it's not like, oh, I'm on prep now, so I'm going to follow this crazy lifestyle and do all these crazy things and do a show and get some photos and then life goes on. I feel like if you're doing it with that mindset, it's going to end in tears. But if you're already loving the bodybuilding lifestyle and you love pushing yourself and bettering yourself outside of a prep, then you're going to love a prep. It is so much fun.
It's very rewarding to like prove to yourself that you can just do things that are really, really difficult, which is what it really is, and watch your body morph into something that it's never been before is very like fascinating as well.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's proving to yourself that you can do something you never thought you could, which is kind of the reason that I did it. I said, oh, I can never do a prep because I'm not disciplined enough. So then I was like, nah, fuck that. I'm going to prove that I am.
Yeah.
And like you said, like seeing your body in a way that you would never have expected to look like.
I still remember my first prep and just thinking, what the fuck, what is that?
Yeah, sometimes you just come round
where's that come from?
And see your body for like what it truly is, and you're like, that's really hard.
Yeah, what it truly is. What's underneath.
Yeah, what's actually underneath. So do it for the right reasons. Make sure you love the bodybuilding lifestyle before you prep. Yeah,
because as also then people that you're trying to impress on your Instagram, they're not going to be there when you're starving, laid awake at night. They're not going to be there when you're talking to the treadmill and crying on that. They're not going to be there. They're not going to give a shit. So just make sure, because otherwise you'll end up very upset.
Boom, done. What did you say afterwards? A cut.
Cut, yeah. Cut.
Sweet.